All right, why don't we get the wheels rolling? Welcome to today's Acoustic Methods series. Today, I'm extremely excited to welcome Axel. Where are you?
You see me? Hello.
There we are. Hi. So what's your last name? I'm having a brain fog.
Drioli.
Axel Drioli, who is currently living a way more exciting life than I. He's on a soundscape recording expedition from Europe all the way down to the southern portion of Africa along a migratory flyway, capturing stories and recordings that he's using to connect the public to nature in some really creative ways. And this is a bit of a departure from some of the more methods-focused sessions we've had in the past. But I think it's a real breath of interesting and fresh air because, you know, a lot of us are collecting acoustic data that is valuable not just to do science, but also to engage the public. And so if you've ever maybe had some ideas about some marine mammal recordings or bird recordings or some strange animal that I didn't even know makes sounds, perhaps today you'll be inspired to, not only inspired, you'll get some technical knowledge or learn some potential skills that can help you make that a reality. And so today, hopefully how it's going to work, we'll learn a bit about Axel's journey, then learn some tips and tricks. And then it would be great if we have some time in the end, if anybody is comfortable sharing, and I hope so. I'll really love to hear some input from all of you about ideas that you have for maybe you have a recording project you thought could make an interesting, podcast or an interesting art piece, and maybe Axel could give you some feedback about your idea. So keep that in mind as we get started. And without further ado, Axel, I'll turn the floor over to you. And yeah, excited to see the journey you've been on.
Thank you very much, Ben. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are. For me, it's good afternoon. I'm in Italy right now. Could I share my screen and just so we get that sorted? So, hi everyone. Thank you, Ben, for the great introduction. I'm Axel, and I am a director, producer, spatial audio designer, wildlife sound recordist, enthusiast about nature, and a geek, but also an artist. I'm a bit of a mix. I've been through my life. I've done various things. I'm originally from a small city in Italy called Trieste, near the Slovenian border. Well, actually, I can show you where it is. Should makes more sense for me. Jeez. Here. And well, I decided to move to London because I wanted to be a famous DJ. That was the beginning of my journey. Then I went to study sound engineering to learn how to make my own tracks. And when I went to study, already before I was interested about stereo sound and how all this, how you could pan sound left and right. It was sounding pretty cool. And then when I went to study, I'm going to just unmute.
Yeah, I'll help you out.
Yeah, thank you.
Some spatial audio. Okay.
So I went to study, and I found out about this spatial audio thing, this technology, which is not that new really, but the recent technological developments made it happen more quickly and made it actually possible. So when we are talking about multi-channel arrays of loudspeakers or microphones, as you can see on the picture at the top, where, you can say that you want to recreate, there are different reasons why you would do that. You would maybe recreate realism, which is not really, but you want to create maybe that sense of like three-dimensional space around you. You want to be able to walk through the soundscape, or you want to be able to locate sounds coming from different directions. And that really inspired me. And where I'm from, there is lots of nature around, but I've always been in contact with nature. I've never been really curious about nature. But thanks to these technology, I sort of realized really quickly that the best way to use it was to be in nature, because that's the place where you've got sounds everywhere happening all around you. And I got hooked up into wildlife sounds and recording sounds of nature and behaviors, animal behaviors. And from there, which was like 6 years ago, I started my journey. I kept working, I kept it as a passion, and then I kept working as a special audio designer for humanitarian documentaries. I've been traveling around Africa, Europe, a bit of Asia, and I've done various installations in US, at various film festivals, and that was all great. But I really wanted to go into a journey where, you know, when you record sounds, it takes time. And it's not something that you can go there for 10 days, unless you have, you know, the BBC researchers behind that they can, you know, do all the research for you and tell you that the behavior is happening there. You're always with a biologist or a field record or a field specialist. So I decided to go on the road on my own, and I wanted to do something a bit different from what I've seen before. I've seen lots of documentary filmmakers going out, you know, to nature, to wherever, or look at BBC, for example. They go everywhere in the world. They make amazing stories, don't get me wrong. They go everywhere in the world, they spend millions, they get all this data together, all this amazing footage, and they put these stories together, and then they only share it in the UK. And then I was like, to the UK audience, and I was like, how could I instead talk to local people, show them, you know, the beauty of their nature there directly. Also because headphones are a great invention, but loudspeaker playbacks is another story. Even like 2 speakers is already good, but I've been working with 10, 20 loudspeakers, and when you have a good recording and you are surrounded by this sound bubble, it's just, you know, incredible, and it adds even more to the story. So I wanted to do it. I wanted to create that myself on the way. So I decided to follow the bird migration through Europe and Africa, started from the UK, and following the migration into Europe, and then going down to Africa, to the south of Africa, down the west coast. And every 3 weeks, stopping at a different location and just learning about the location with people, with NGOs, with specialists from that location, capture the stories. My brother joined me, and we are together now doing this project, and he's a photographer and graphic designer, so that's perfect. So we can cover both senses, vision and sound and hearing. And every 3 weeks, we stay in one location. We capture the stories. We can be 3 weeks, 4 weeks. We decide. We are doing it right now as self-funded. We worked for 2 years, and now we've got enough money to do it for another 5 months, hopefully, before we run out of money. And stopping at every single different location and doing installations there and show to people there, you know, the beauty that they maybe don't hear, they don't see, if they don't actually go to nature. And it's been a great experience. We've been sharing stories with people from we started in the Basque Country here in north of Spain, and then we stayed here 3 weeks, and then we traveled here on north of Barcelona, in Catalonia, in Aiguamolls, which is another great place. Then we went to the Camargue, which is one of the second biggest wetland in Western Europe, I think, massive, which was another brilliant location. And then we traveled back to Italy, and now migration is not really happening. It's happening from the north to the south, but there is not a lot of activity. So we just took a couple of weeks off to do some more. You know, we've got so much data to go through and to catch up with. And when you are living on the road also, because our goal is to that's my brother. Our aim is to live literally on the road. And I don't have a picture here of our cars. Here they are. We have our goal is to literally live in nature all the time. So we are living in our 4x4 trucks, so we can go to any different location and not being not being limited by the kind of terrain we find, and also being able to just record and stay in nature. It happened a couple of times that I managed to just park near a nature reserve and have a 200 meters cable down in the forest and have my microphone there, and I left it there for 2 weeks. And every night when we would go back to camp, I would plug in the microphone and just keep recording every night. And I managed to get some amazing recordings, which I can make you listen to now. Let's have a listen. So we test how it sounds. Ben, if you can give me a thumb up if you hear it or not. That wasn't as impressive as with a pair of subwoofers, but there was a wild boar literally like running against the microphone almost. And yeah, with the headphones, you don't get that low end of a 200 kilos beast that just goes against you. But that's because I left it there for like, a couple of weeks, and they just, animals got used to that piece of equipment being there. So yeah, I'm on this journey because I want to share nature sounds and nature stories, and I want people to connect. I want people to not only be in contact with nature, not only being out and going for a hike or a bike ride. I want people to be curious about nature and show them that you can become curious even later in life. You don't need to be curious since you're like really little. You can gain it. When I was 25, that moment happened, and I just reconnected to nature completely. I don't live in London anymore. I don't want to be in a big city anymore. I want to be in nature. I want to be connected. So that's my aim, and I want to share it because I think also I want to share these stories with my peers, with people similar age, between 20 and 40, because I think in the next 10, 20 years, we're going to be the ones that are going to decide the sort of our planet, and we're going to be the decision makers. So if we can ignite this curiosity, this joy towards nature, maybe we're going to take better decisions later on. And storytelling has been important over time, and I'm always a bit like I think science is absolutely crucial, but then we need to also communicate to the big audience these data, these informations that we learn, and how to. There are different ways I think that we can do. My idea is taking this cutting edge technology to the field, directly to people. So what we do, we have every time we do an installation, this is a little video presentation of the installation. We have these 10 loudspeaker system that I have in my car, and combined with a pair of virtual reality headsets, where we have just a virtual photographic gallery of the sounds, with pictures taken by my brother Ario. We sort of combine these two senses together and try to get people curious. The amount of times that happen that people they saw the loudspeakers, they saw the VR headset, and they were like, "Oh, that looks cool. Come over. I want to come over and try it. I don't know what that is, but it just seems cool." And I was like, "Great, perfect." They fell in the trap. They fell in the trap. So hopefully, I mean, those people afterwards were really curious about the sounds and the different pictures, and they saw the animals really close. So by using technology, I want to kind of like get people closer to nature. Absolutely, I'm not a massive fan of VR anymore, but I think for this reason is a good excuse to use it. I'm not a gamer. I don't like games or VR and this sort of stuff. I like to be present in nature, mostly on my own. But people, we are so submerged by technology that I kind of, we need to find a trap to get them interested in it. I think that's a way. That's our way of sharing our love for nature, because we are geeks and we come from an urban environment. So yeah, we've been following this journey, and now we are at this stage of stopping. It's been tough to share all the different stories that we found, just because when you are on the road, you are literally, even taking a shower is tricky. So you gotta you gotta organize yourself pretty well. But after this first phase, now we know how to organize better ourselves, and we're going to be better at also sharing on social media, which is a great tool, which I'm personally trying to escape from it, but I know that I need to use it. So I need to use it for work. I'm trying to find the right balance. Lots of people are on social media, not everyone, but lots of people on social media. And I kind of want to make it meaningful. Also, I don't want people to fall in the trap like I fell back over lockdown. That was literally a passive scroller all the time. I want to make it a good experience, and hopefully while hearing and watching these stories, they connect, and then they go out and maybe they leave their phone at home. So this is my journey really that I'm going through. And now we have to see if going up to Sweden to finish our migration journey up north, to then go down in November and go down to Morocco and start our journey into Africa, West Africa, which is another interesting. My idea is I want to do these installations anywhere, even in the community, wherever it is in the middle of Africa, in the middle of nowhere, because I think that no one should be excluded. I don't want to exclude anyone. I want to make it accessible. That's my goal. So yeah, do you have any questions so far? No? Cool.
Maybe give it some time. Does anybody have any burning questions about Axel's expedition, or some more recordings he's captured, or anything?
By the way, if no one has any question, please just say something. If you just interrupt me. We've worked for 2 years to start this journey on our own, because we just wanted to do it ourselves. So we just been saving up non-stop. That's how we managed to start and do. At least we have budget for at least 8 months. After these 8 months, we don't have any more money, but because of this journey, this experience, I'm sure that we're gonna have some sponsors and we're gonna be able to keep going. I'm a risk taker. I like to just go all in things and do things like 100%. And failure will be part of the project and part of the journey, but I'm pretty comfortable, confident that it's gonna happen. Yeah, that's a recurring question. Like, how did you make it happen? I just worked my ass off for 2 years.
Do you have any favorite recordings or that we can listen to now? I think a lot of us have some headphones. Yes.
So one of my favorite is, I'm a bit obsessed with slowing down recordings now, because because of the way birds here, well, I read a few times different, different points of view of like how many notes birds hear. You probably know much more. You could also tell me, Axel, you're wrong. Please tell me if I. But for example, as humans, we can detect 1/20th of a note in a certain amount of time, whereas birds can, in the same amount of time, can hear 1/200th of a note. So they can hear much more in the same time. So what we hear is not actually what they would hear. What birds hear, what we hear as bird song is not actually what they would communicate between each other. And sometimes songs are really, really fast, and I'm just fascinated by the speed of these calls. And one example is the reed warbler. Tiny little, I'm amazed by how these small little birds can manage to fly for like thousands of miles every year, or even, after they fledge, after a few weeks, a month, they just like go on like incredible journeys, and they have these like incredible ways to communicate. So this is the reed warbler. You find it in reed beds in Europe. This is the Eurasian reed warbler, and he has this like specific call, and here you can hear it at normal speed and then slow down at played back at 10% of its speed. I think this is mind-blowing. I mean, at least for people that listen to it the first time, or when you listen to it for the first time, you're like, really? Does it sound like that? So this is one of the things that I'm really like fascinated by when you have really fast songs. This is one of my favorite. I hope you could hear it well. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounded great. And yeah, I love the idea of trying to listen like an animal. And emulating that experience.
Yeah, and that can translate also in so many other different topics. If you start talking about noise pollution, these sort of things, how do animals hear noise pollution? How do they feel noise pollution? So that's another whole topic that I'm not gonna go into right now.
So we've got a few questions in the chat. Marcos is wondering what your go-to recording equipment is.
So I'm professionally trained, so I'm really like I use all the like professional equipment for TV. So I'm using a Zoom recorder, which is, I mean, I've got 3 of them. For example, I use this one, which is an 8-channel recorder. I record eight channels at the same time, connected to an Ambisonics mic, which is a 360 microphone that looks like that. And this microphone can capture a sound field. So I'm specialized in sound for virtual reality, and this is like the basics, using these microphones to capture an entire sound field. So the whole field of sound around the microphone. I've got 4 of these ones, for example, and I used to capture soundscapes. I also use, I think you use the Wildtronics parabolic microphone, which is a Zoom, an acoustic Zoom for sounds. I always have it. Every time I go out for a walk, I just have it hanging on the side of my backpack, attached to a recorder, because you never know what you can find. So that's what I use. This is my professional equipment, and then I've got 5 now audio moths, which someone wrote something about audio moth, which I'm pretty sure you all know about it. Really simple, and it does its job. For me, I use it mostly to hear what's going on around a certain place before leaving $1,500 of rig unattended in the middle of the forest, just to make sure that it's worth it. But there are a couple of people that I met. I heard recordings. Someone had a nightjar sitting on one of these, and it was the best nightjar recordings I've ever heard. It was absolutely brilliant. Also, the audio moth now, the new version, the 1.2, I think. You can also connect. You connect a female pin, and you can like that. You can plug in an external microphone if you want to have better quality. So I'm recording personally. I'm recording in mono and 3D audio. I'm not recording.
Nice.
I don't recording stereo, but I can translate the 3D audio into stereo. But I'm really interested. Yeah, that's how I do things. So it could be that I would record also with 2 channels, which sometimes I do.
So now, and even though he's using really nice and expensive and professional equipment, you'll hear, I saw a little bit of Axel's presentation, and don't want to spoil anything, but you can get unbelievable field recordings with very affordable equipment as well. Being in the right place and knowing your system and species, you'll hear him talk about it. But so don't feel like you can't do this because you can't have some of these more expensive pieces of gear, because that's not true. And Kathleen has a question, which I think is a really cool discussion topic. Maybe after the second half of your presentation, we could think more about this. But she's wondering, are there ways you could connect or collaborate with scientists for grant funding to continue the work? Or would the primary continued funding mechanisms come mainly through sponsorships? Like, yeah, I think that's a very interesting question.
Absolutely. I think I definitely want to, if I can avoid sponsorships through if I can get some collaborations going on, and at the level of, for example, National Geographic grants or Rolex grants or these sort of things, that's my real goal. I'm not a biologist. My background is not in knowing where to go to find species or these sort of things. So I can, I bring the knowledge and I bring the curiosity and the passion for nature, but collaborating with scientists, that's my idea, that's my goal, and then bringing what's created into the public. For example, also not talking about me, but when BBC documentary filmmakers do research, they talk to scientists most of the times, obviously, to learn about special behaviors or interesting, unique behaviors, and there is a communication and a possibility for collaboration. But absolutely, personally, I absolutely want to work with scientists. I'm talking now with a biologist to record wolves in Slovenia, for example, and collaborate on that. So yeah, absolutely.
The questions are pouring in. And so, Andre, do you want to ask your question? My friend is on mute. Well, he's wondering if you can do some remote work while traveling, like leaving your car, maybe going out and doing some really remote journeys, or is that not so possible the way that you're traveling?
Remote, I mean, I could, in terms of remote work that is not related just to make money. Is that what?
No, I think Well, Andre, maybe you could explain your question a little more. Nomad life, he's saying.
Yeah. I could, but I don't want to because I've done my whole life things 50-50 and I don't want to do it anymore. And I want to just like crack on 100% now onto something without splitting myself between too many things. And I just want to go all in. So it's going to be more of a struggle or whatever, but I know that now every day is about my project and I want to make it happen. It's not easy, obviously. There is always massive ups and incredibly downs but it's part of the journey. So that's my philosophy right now. I want to go for it. I've done it once already when I moved to London. I wasn't speaking. 9 years ago, I wasn't able to speak English. I wasn't able to do anything really more than being a surveyor. So I've seen things can happen if you just go 100% into it. But yeah, it's possible. I've got servers, I've got routers, I've got 40 amps of battery, so I could do it. But
Cool.
Yeah.
Mitch, your question is very interesting. Can you come on and ask it? I'm not 100% sure exactly what you're getting at, so it would be great to have you explain it. Well, I could do my best Mitch impression. So Mitch is wondering, are your recordings tuned with the bird migration phenology?
Remind me what phenology means, please.
Phenology is basically the study of temporal patterns, like the seasonal trends or yearly trends. So I'm very curious what Mitch is trying to get at here.
Mm-hmm. I mean, right now, as I'm not an expert, and I know that what I'm doing now, I'm going based on locations. So, for example, I went to a location and I talked to people locally. I'm talking about visitor centers and NGOs, local NGOs, and I met some scientists on the way and learn what's there at that moment in time that is related to migration. So that's what I'm doing now. So I'm not species specific. For example, if I would have done something related to the osprey and I would go to my first location, Urdaba in the Basque Country, there were no ospreys this year. So I would have been a bit, it wouldn't have worked. So
come to Ithaca.
Sorry?
You should come here.
Do you have ospreys there?
Mm-hmm.
Nice. And then we're gonna come there. But yeah, I'm learning and I'm sharing my learnings also with people. So I'm the first person that is learning. Like any storyteller, every time learns about something before sharing it. So I'm the first one I'm curious to learn. So this journey for me is about learning and sharing in a dynamic and a mobile way.
Wonderful. Well, why don't we get into the second part of your presentation now,
Yes.
where you can share if any of us are interested in doing these sorts of sound outreach projects, science communication projects. Axel's put together some good tips for us.
Yeah. So, well, I think one important thing is why, if you have to share something, why are you doing it? What's your reason? What's the reason why you will share it? For me, this is my motto. If I ever get lost in, I'm not sure what I'm doing, or I'm not sure, I'm not sure how to, create this bit of story, I go back to my statement to make sure that I just like reconnect to it. So for me, yeah, it's just to renew the curiosity towards nature for people of my age. I want to just like share a couple of really good examples of of nature sounds that made an impact, or they are really well structured. For me, this is like, I have a copy of this record in my car, flexible, just as a reminder sometimes why I'm doing it. And this is Songs of the Humpback Whale by Roger Payne. The numbers are pretty crazy if you think about it. In the 79, they distributed a record, a vinyl, a record, a flexible record to 10.5 million people, which is, I think it's the biggest print ever done or something like that. It's stupidly crazy. And it was just in that time of the anti-whale movement. And lots of people say that these also helped to create some connection with the animals. And I need to share the record, a little bit of the album, because I think that's quite emotional. Imagine that you are in the 79 and you hear about this whaling thing. You're not really sure. You still consume whale. You have it there. You don't know what these animals, they're just big animals. People are just like hunting them all the time. Yeah, okay, it's fine. I've got to keep going with my life, right? But then you listen to this. Let's have a listen. I'll stop it just here, but I mean, that sound makes me cry personally, almost. But I don't know, there is something within it that just kickstart something in you, at least in me, and then it did, and it does in a lot of people. And I think, yeah, that's something that we should just do a bit of research on this. I think it's a great story. Another great album is Weather Report by Chris Watson. The first album, Songs of the Humpback Whale, it was just a recording, I think. So it wasn't really composed, I think. It was mostly like single recordings and then patched one after the other. But Chris Watson, Weather Report, was more composed in certain places. Not that it will become fictional at all, but it sort of like more, it did a mix, which could be a bit more complicated, but you could, if you listen to it, you could also hear the reason why he did it. Let's have a listen to this. And this is from 2010, I think. No, even a little bit earlier. So I didn't write it when he produced it. and it keeps going. You can have a listen to it later on, but you can see that it's quite long, and it's a whole like journeying through the different weather of different habitats. And I think, I mean, they said this is like one of the 100 albums you should listen before you die. So just have a listen. Telling a story with sound. When I started, I've done some research on how we hear sounds and how what we expect from sounds also as humans, and what makes something kick into our brain, what makes interested into it. The basic, if you come from a research, I can imagine, I try to put myself into your shoes when you've got terabytes of data and you've got loads of recordings, and you try to come up with something that could be interesting, and you're overwhelmed by the amount of data that you've got. That could be an option, for example. I had sometimes, because sometimes I leave out my recorders for like days or weeks, and then I'm scrolling through them, and I'm like, oh damn, I would love to have someone that can code something for me. But you can do it yourself, so that's great. But how to start? Where to start? Well, first of all, is your idea. So what do you feel in your emotions? What do you feel when you listen to that sound? Is it giving you something? Is it reminding you anything to you personally? Because if it reminds something to you, that's transferable. That's something that someone else could also feel afterwards when they listen to it, if you contextualize it. Not necessarily, I mean, most of the time it's good to contextualize a sound, even by description or by narration, saying where it's happening, how it makes you feel. Let someone else understand what they are listening to, because most of the times people don't know what they're listening to, and it can become really quickly a field recording that doesn't really make much sense. You connect to it. But if you have a sound or something that that really makes you connect to the recording, that would be it becomes much more powerful. Chris Watson is great at doing it. He has a really good way of giving you the right information in a short period of time to just like get into it, to connect to the sound. And then there is that thing of storytelling about drama. So do you bring drama or not? I think there are two ways. Personally, right now, my own experience, my own way is I want to create something so beautiful that you've got that euphoric moment you listen to it, and you're like, oh yes, this is beautiful. They just like create that emotion. But then you can also go down the route of like impressing someone with something really, really powerful, really dramatic, that just like stab the audience directly into the chest. That's also another way. I think there are these two ways to do it, and it's down to you also, down to how you feel at that time of in life. Sometimes I'm coming out from a really negative thinking period of our oh, the world is going bananas, and it's climate change is gonna it's accelerating year after year. And then now I'm sort of like more positive, so I want to make something that is a bit more positive and more like engaging. But I don't think there is right or wrong. It's just how you feel. You need to feel it first. The more personal it is, the better, because it gets people connect to it, which is part of the next slide. Emotions. I think there are two ways, again, to do this thing. You can either create emotion by connecting human and wildlife stories, because when you see a bird, most people don't really manage to empathize with a bird unless they know something about it. So the quickest way to do it is to have a person close to the bird, the sort of you can relate to, you can connect to. There could be yourself, or could be another scientist, another person that talks about that bird, for example, and you create a connection. Another way to do it is to anthropomorphize things, which I mean, in the scientific world, is not really something that you do, I think, or I'm not sure, I'm not a scientist, but there are more people that think they say that they're not really, they don't agree with it. But if it's for the storytelling, if it's for conservation efforts, maybe it can be done. Either way, things can go right or wrong. But it's down to you, how you feel about it, how you personally feel about that story. I think it needs to be about you. I'm literally telling you this because I'm telling that to myself also, to keep doing it. This presentation is great also for me to remember how I'm doing and why I'm doing these things. Another thing that I've noticed a lot, and I think it should be, you should use, is data, numbers. People don't understand numbers. The audience, I say people, I said audience in general, they're not scientists, they're not people that love nature by default, like us. As soon as you tell someone, oh, the Amazon rainforest lost 3,000 hectares of rainforest last year, they're like, oh, 3,000, say that's a big number. But what if you say about the size of the Maldives? Well, yeah, it's not as big. But if you say the Amazon rainforest lost rainforest for the size of Chile since 1970, then you'll be like, oh, that's quite big. You can see, you can visualize it quickly without having to think about the number. So I think converting numbers into simple things that can be understood really quickly, like in a split second, that's when you create the whoa moment, because it's all about whoa. When you want to create impact, you want to get that whoa out from the audience. I think it's really key. Any questions so far? I see one person in the chat. Nothing. Okay, I'm gonna talk about Ableton later, or other things like that, and Lockwood. Okay, that's a good. We're gonna check also this composer. Thank you, Annie. Cool. How to? Well, talking earlier, yes, I started the chat by talking them I started by presenting my recording equipment that is like thousands of pounds and stuff like that. But honestly, the amount of times, for example, when I really started recording nature sounds, the amount of data that I just like recorded for no reason with the most expensive equipment you can get, with just white noise and some leaves rustling, it was horrible, and it was pointless. And then I heard some recordings of other people that they got that beautiful behavior of that specific mammal, of the specific bird. And he had, yes, some white noise, maybe was clipping a little bit here and there, but that recording was so alive, so real, that it could have been done with a $50 recording equipment, or a 3,000 one, and it would have been the same. I mean, it would have been the same. The final message was the same in the end. I've worked with a few BBC people also, a few filmmakers also, and sometimes they're like, you see on the behind the scenes, there's all these people with like expensive, like $200,000 camera or whatever. Lots of times, sometimes it happens they got a little thing because it's less big, a little camera. They go close to it and just capture that behavior with that camera. Or for example, the last documentary they've done last year about bees, recorded these bees, wild bees, wing beats, with tiny little microphone, like I paid like £6 for it. And the recordings were amazing, and they were like even more like, we were wooing more people more than the recordings I've done with the long shotgun. It cost like $3,000. So recording equipment is relative. If you go a good animal behavior, that's brilliant. Obviously, if you don't have, you can have a great recording. For example, on Xeno Canto, you have loads of random recordings that you find, and you have this beautiful animal behavior with lots of traffic. Well, that's you should think about a way of how to get that recording without the traffic noise, for example. Or maybe you want to include the traffic noise because it's part of the habitat. That's up to you. It's not always, it's negative, but maybe you can transform it into the, the noise pollution story. So yeah, don't worry about the recording. You have the amazing knowledge of fieldcraft and getting the behaviors. That's the first thing. And if you know how to get that, then if you're really interested into wider sound, then maybe you can get some better recorders afterwards. But use what you've got. Audio moths, great. Put them in weird places also. Maybe you wouldn't put them for natural research. When you put them closer into a nest or whatever, I'm sure you can get something really cool with it. Basic mixing. So this is something that is not related to any program or software or anything. It's just basic things to do to make sure that things are listened to properly, because people need to listen to it in the right way. If you have a recording that is too low, people are like, I can't really hear it. And just or they try to bring up the volume all the way at the beginning of the mix because it's really quiet, and you got a thunderstorm kicking in and they become deaf and then distort everything. So the experience just goes bananas. So one important thing, for example, the example of Chris Watson earlier with the lion was really loud at the beginning and he set the level. So as soon as you hear the lion, you quickly, I don't know if you did it, maybe you changed the volume to make sure that it wasn't too loud or too quiet. And then from there, everything else needs to sound or quieter or pretty much the same, or no, it's going to sound quieter because that's the highest of the recording and the loudest of the loudest section of the recording. Also remember that we are in this really fast. It's weird because sound requires time to get it in to just to absorb it, but we live in this really fast scrolling world now. They just everything needs to be really consumed really quickly. So one thing that I tend to do is first 15 seconds, even 10 seconds, there must be something that is really cool that grabs the attention of someone. I think that's key. Just something, maybe you do an edit, you just put that really cool bird call at the beginning so people get curious about it, and then they just keep listening to the rest of the 3 hours of the recording. I think that's quite important. That's usually the music making rule now. It's first 15 seconds needs to be cool, needs to sound cool, because people are on Spotify, they just quickly go next until it sounds cool. Another important thing is don't clip or distort, which is connected to the first bit. So don't overload the recording, and make sure that you hear this is a mixing tip. To make sure that you hear something properly afterwards, before rendering a file from whatever software, listen to it by lowering the volume of the speakers as low as possible, and until you almost don't hear anything, and hear what you hear then. For example, if you have a bird call of a bird call, and you want to get that bird call highlighted in the mix, or you want to make sure that people hear it properly, if you lower it down and you only hear that bird call, that's great, because in most of the loudspeaker systems or headphones, that's going to be really clear. If when you are really low and you hear that bird call and the traffic noise, it means that traffic noise is going to be really loud also afterwards. We can do some tests later, but this is a little tip that even mixing engineers don't really use that often. And it's really helpful. Just you listen to it, bring down the volume of your laptop, of your output of your laptop, all the way down until you almost hear it, and then listen to it at that level. Narration can help. Some people really get bored with narration because they hear, a man talking, and can be boring because all men always talk. So yeah, I get bored also listening to men talking. So I like to hear someone more interesting, maybe a young kid talking about that recording, that experience, or something more interesting, that you capture the attention also by who is talking about the recording. That's just a creative choice. It can be you. I've done a couple of them. I'm gonna make you listen now to one, and which I'm not really super happy with, but it sort of like told us a little bit of a story. And then the length, which is something that those people ask me usually. Well, the length, it depends on the actual recording. If you go recording, that makes sense to play back for like 20 seconds. Play 20 seconds if it's really cool. If you've got 11 hours or amazing soundscape, some people listen just to go to sleep by listening to recordings, and they really enjoy it. So upload the whole 11 hours if you can. It's a bit down to what you want people to do with that recording. Do you want them to get the whoa moment in that 20 seconds and then that's it, or you want to keep them hooked in, or do you want to just like let them play the recording in the background? That's a bit up to you. Any questions on this bit?
I'm cognizant that we're coming up on the hour, so we may have some people
Leaving soon
that have to leave, but why don't we continue on, and then if you have some more time with us, if people have individual projects that they're thinking of working on, we can have some time for that at the end, and I'll certainly stick around and give my 2 cents too. Yeah.
My next thing is we are visual animals, so we need some sort of, not always, but it's good to have a visual reference of what we are listening to. So here is a list of different things that software that you can use to generate spectrograms of different types, depending on what your knowledge is. There is an R package that it's really cool, or you can do in command line directly on Windows, or you go Audacity. All these ones have at least a free version. Kaleidoscope and Raven have a light version where you can have your spectrograms. So you can play with the colors there, be a bit more creative there, take a screenshot, and you can post it with the recording. Or if you got someone that has a nice picture of it, or if you ring them, if you ring the actual bird, take a picture. That's brilliant. That's amazing. You can go really into details with that. So yeah, this is just a couple of links. I'm going to share the slide later so you can get the links. Where to share my work? That's something that you asked me also, Ben. Well, there are various sound-based platforms like SoundCloud and Bandcamp. SoundCloud it was really good 10 years ago. Now it's a bit less, but it's still quite used, and you can upload sounds there. You can share them with everyone. You got a limit on time, but it's great to share. You don't make any money out of it, and or you could. Maybe they have a new thing called creators, but I don't know. They always pay peanuts, so I don't even care. But that's a good way to share, and share with people. Literally send them on WhatsApp messages, create broadcast lists on WhatsApp Messenger, and share with your friends. People love to have recordings as alarms in the morning to wake up, for example. Just like share them with them as a file or as a SoundCloud link. Bandcamp is great. You can create your album and sell it there. You can also give it for free, but people can go there, listen to it, or download it in WAV or MP3 or whatever. Obviously, social media. That's why I said earlier the visualization, because social media is visual. So if you can combine the two things together, great. Then you go also record labels and organizations. I'm creating my own record label now, with the idea that every time that I make a revenue out of a recording, I donate 20% directly to that institute or whoever helped me to capture that recording. So I go somewhere, I record something, and I get some revenue out of it. I donate to them directly, 20% at least for now. I would like to be 100%, but I need to also make some cash and keep the ball rolling. So that's the beginning. But at least when you talk about music or record labels, you share things, and revenues they come. It could be that in 10 years time, it's gonna make like £300 per month just because people like a recording. You never know. So that's what I'm capturing. So if you have some really cool stuff and you want to share them, let me know. I'm looking also for people to share recordings, if they're really cool, if there's a story behind. But I think the most important thing is make something that you would enjoy listening to. That's the first thing. So you need to like it. That's the most important thing, and then you share it. Sometimes maybe you're not going to be 100% sure, you share it anyway. Both of these things are important, but when you like it, now I'm enjoying listening to a Thunderstorm recording that I've done 2 months ago, and I fall asleep with it. I just like it, so I'm really enjoying it. This is a list of artist organization to follow. Just have a look, and I'm sure you can get some inspirations from them. I'm an officer of the Wildlife Sound Recording Society, which is a group of people, 300 people, that like to get high quality recordings of wildlife sounds. And we have a forum, and there are so many different things you can check out on editing techniques, recording techniques, and all this sort of stuff. So have a look, and if you've got any question, there you go, my email, and I can answer. And yeah, let's stay in touch. I'm online. We are all online. So yeah, I hope they was helpful, and you can get something out of this presentation. Thank you for sticking around until now. Great.
Hey, fantastic. Thanks so much. You covered so much. Does anybody have? Nah, you covered a lot. And for a listener, you certainly can explain a lot of different aspects as well, not just you can listen and you could talk, which is so you're a double threat. Does anybody have any questions for Axel, or also any possible science communication projects that you're working on that you'd like to share? I'm very curious what everybody is working on.
Hello.
My name is Kiran. I'm from India.
Hi.
I'm a student of wildlife conservation. I'll just switch on my video. Is it on? Okay. So hello. So I just wanted to know that I'm working on an educational program to build like connectedness for students, and using sounds and bird calls to get them back to the wild from the boring classroom. So do you have any tips on that, or anything which I can do?
From the so you wanna bring people from these classrooms. You said boarding classrooms.
Boring classrooms. So like students, boring classrooms.
Okay. Well, do you wanna sort of teach them like basic sounds? Do you wanna show them some sounds, or how do you wanna take it?
So what I am also planning to do is also take them out on a nature trail or something like that. But also if I can do some activity in the classroom using like just making them hear sounds or something like that. If you have any tips, how I can improve the project according to you, how you are building.
So for example, if you take someone out and you want to teach them bird calls, like when they make a call, try to find fun ways of remembering the bird calls. For example, the wood pigeon that we've got, I don't know if you've got it in India, maybe everywhere, but the wood pigeon, it sounds literally like wood pigeon, pigeon, pigeon. Stupid example, but that's like sticks into your head straight away. Simple, fun things that they are easy to assimilate and to remember. And that's for any age. It sounds like for like a kid, but that's for any age, mostly for our peers. That works. And you just be creative with it, and then you're gonna find other people, other birders, that they use the same technique. But it's quite common. And I've done a little video on that if you want to get some. Let me find it. yeah, I've done a quick over lockdown for my local patch. Bird song, learning bird song. And I've had some presentations where I would just show them, you know, I would have some calls, just giving a little like description of the calls. I think that helps, and that is really simple. Don't go into the, oh, these are 2 syllables that sound like for a half a second. That becomes boring, right? So to make it fun like that, yeah. I hope that helps.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
No props.
Kieran, I also wonder if you could gamify it where you can make it sort of like Pokemon Go or something with your students. You give some points and they can go out with their cell phones and try to record different birds. And for example, they can use something like either Raven or BirdNet. We have some potential tools that you can use to make those recordings and store them. And yeah, I'd be happy to connect with you to brainstorm more on that idea. I worked before joining Cornell at my last position. We were building a curriculum, a soundscape curriculum for middle school students. So I'd be happy to touch base with you about that.
For sure.
Anybody else?
I'm gonna check Annie's link here later. Siren. That was pretty cool. Onomatopoeia. Yeah, or even if you want to send me an email later, it's all, you know, all cool. I'm really available, and I'm happy to share. I've got templates and stuff also that could be helpful for someone, but yeah, just get in touch. I'm happy to help. I've been helped before, and I want to help.
I have a question. It's Dimitri here.
Hello.
Hi. You say you're using ambisonics and for VR. I'm just wondering what the audience is like that at the moment, and how you see that changing perhaps in the next 10 years. Is it kind of like, are we at the beginning of something big? Or do you think it's just going to stay niche?
Well, it's like I convert everything to binaural and stereo. So I record in 360, I have like lots of channels, and then I convert to stereo just because it's the simplest thing. People don't even listen to stereo, most of the time listen to mono. Next 10 years, I think it's gonna get, I think the workflow is gonna get, you know, it has lots of potential in terms of the workflow on what it is and how you work with, how you capture sounds and how you manipulate them. So on the behind the scenes, I think there is already quite of a change in the industry and an interest into 3D sound and ambisonics and this sort of spatial audio. But I think for the audience, I'm not entirely sure. I even have, I don't know if you've got the AirPods Pro, these ones.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, because I have some what do they call that? It's they call it ambisonic. I can't remember. But...
Yeah, they have head tracking. So
head tracking, right?
Yeah. So when you're recording 3D audio, you record a sphere of sound, and then the cool thing of it is like if you've got a head tracker like the AirPods Pro or like one of these like geeky like literally like accelerometers you put on top of the headphones, you can move your head and have the sound field always in one position, so like you would be in real life, which is great. But I personally switched it off because it was annoying me, and I'm a special audio person. So right, I think there's going to be a few trial and error. Unfortunately for the audience, everything is special audio ends up being a gimmick. Even the Netflix one is a bit of the Netflix new release of special audio. It's a bit of a gimmick. And I'm scared that could pull people off, like this special audio thing here, because they pushed so much, and now it's like, yeah, I have it, I'm not actually using it. So on the behind the scenes, it's going to become bigger, I think. Maybe not ambisonic in itself, but other special audio technologies. But mono is going to stay. I mean, this is stereo because you got two speakers here, but most people listen out of this speaker.
Right.
So yeah.
So it's still the story's king, basically. I mean, it's
yeah. I've been that was my revelation also the last 3 years. Is like I've been digging for techniques and technologies and stuff. But then, as I said earlier, fieldcraft, where to get the recording, where to get that behavior. If the behavior is good, mono 16 channels, 24 is gonna it's gonna be the same. Maybe you increase a little bit the wall with more equipment. The story is so key. And if it's mono, it's gonna it's gonna be impactful.
Right.
That's my point of view personally, and I'm a geek, and I come from that background. But I think it's useful. It's useful. I can do crazy things with in ambisonics that people in stereo can't do, I think it's worth learning, and it's getting more accessible.
So that's software accessibility. So if you wanted to create something in virtual reality or something like that, do you use Unity or something like that? Or
I did use Unity, but I don't I used Unity to when I had to work with someone else on some projects or do some more experimental stuff. But in terms of my own work, I use Unity just to create the slides for the VR headset, but I don't actually do audio in Unity, also because the quality is not really that great. So I know how to use it. I can use it, but it's not my part of my toolkit personally. So I do everything in Reaper.
Oh, Reaper, right?
Yeah, and Reaper. And if anyone's interested in having some fun with template with 3D audio mixing and stuff, I can share a template.
Sure.
Which actually I could.
So it's Reaper like a proprietary, right? So you have to.
It's free. So
it's free.
This is Reaper. Yeah, it's free. You have an evaluation copy that lasts forever, and you can use it. You can manipulate it. You can coordinate it. It can be really complicated, but also if you don't look at all the buttons, it can be really simple. Right. You just need to get your head around it a little bit at the beginning.
So what language is the code?
The code here, I think, is Java.
Oh, Java. Okay.
You can do, yeah.
Right.
I think, but also you can also code in Python in different plugins, but then it gets more complicated, and I'm lost at that stage. But if you want to create things, you have some fun. Yeah, this is a great free tool, and if you learn it today, in the next 2 months, in 1 year time, you want to do some more complicated stuff, you can do them instead of going to a new software, and you can have all the spectrogram views, which are not great, but not the greatest, but they're useful.
Yeah.
And all sorts of other things. Yeah. I can share, if someone is interested, I can share a template with a free a free template with free plugins to do 3D audio stuff, if anyone's interested.
Axel, do you have any experience with underwater 3D audio?
Personally, I don't, but I know people have been doing it, and I think this person did it. Tony from Surrey University. Remember his surname? Tony Miat, yes, this guy. He's been experimenting.
Cool.
Tony, how do you say it? Tony Miat, this person. So, and if you want to check this guy out, unless you did it already and you know more than me about it.
No, I'm kind of just trying my own rigs out, but I don't know about Tony Myatt, so I'll check him out. Thank you.
No worries. He did a few installations with Chris Watson. He works with Chris Watson when Chris has something specific to do. He builds rigs for him, or they just they do stuff together. So, right. And they did some installations also. But yeah, it's an interesting situation because everything changes, physics change, and also having cardioid microphones underwater is a bit more complicated. So yeah, they had some good results though. That's what I can say from what I remember.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much.
No worries.
If we're all good on questions, this is super interesting, and I'm definitely eager to stay tuned to your journey. And I just wish you the best of luck in the coming months as you're continuing to collect recordings. And then also, I love the idea of playing them at each of the communities or each of the places, and really having them a part of your work. I think that that's really cool. So any way that we can stay tuned, whether on social media or otherwise, I'll be following for sure.
Thank you, Ben, and thank you for thank you for having me. That was it was great to have a chat. You know, there is so much disconnection I find with filmmakers and scientists. So having a sort of a discussion with them, I would have loved to have more time to chat more and have more discussions. But yeah, I'm sure it's going to happen. And if someone is interested, let's keep chatting. But
My door is open, so
thank you.
just let me know. I'll be around.
That's again my website if anyone wants to get in touch. But yeah, thank you very much for the patience.
Okay, everybody. We'll see you in a few weeks. Thank you.